Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, July 12th, 2018 here on the Rancho, and I hope all of you ran out all day long and got your 7-Eleven Slurpees along with your dollar hot dogs, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I know Janet did. She
I know Janet did, and everybody.
I didn't go because I ain't into sweets no more.
Yeah, I snuck off a couple times today, but
you did.
A couple times yesterday. Anyway, guys, good morning to you. We thought it's interesting. Jack is a really good friend of ours, and we hope to be able to meet him one day when we're going through the East Coast. And Jack asked us an interesting question, Missy Jen, on the Facebook. And Jack wanted to know if he knows that we had the 7,636 mile trip. He knows I'm a midget too. There we go.
She's a midget. I'm a giant.
There we go. Raised myself up a bit, guys. But Jack wanted to know, he said, I know you guys had the 7,636 mile trip that you went on in February, March, which was really cool. 17-day adventure. But Jack says, let your mind run free, Missy Jen. And Rosie, is there any fantasy trip that you would like to go on that you probably, forget about cost being an object, forget about logistics and all that, forget about, being transgendered and travel in some parts of the world. Is there any place, fantasy-wise, that you would really like to go to? And you did your homework today, and didn't you? Huh?
I did.
You took it seriously.
I did really specifically pinpoint.
Don't say it yet, but we're not going to let the cat out of the bag yet. But we really have, I think, some very unusual and then really unusual sort of places to travel. I've been all over Asia, and Missy Jen's been all over Europe. I've been over a good measure of Europe. You've been through a lot more, Southern Europe and, Yugoslavia and those kind of places. And certainly,
Switzerland, back and forth through Italy.
Austria.
All across Austria, back and forth.
So we are definitely travelers. I've officially been all the way around the world by plane and stuff. But as far as fantasy travel goes, that's a whole different experience. And remember, there's no limitations, as Jack said, there's no limitations on finances. There's no geopolitical limitations in terms of borders and stuff. What would you like to do? Missy Jen, you did your homework, and what did you come up with for your fantasy trip?
It would be Moscow and
Russia, right?
There are several.
What is it that attracts you to Russia, and specifically Moscow, as opposed to St. Petersburg, the birthplace of, say, the Russian Revolution?
The Red Square is one of the things, and on the Red Square has actually a lot of historical things. A lot of events have happened there. And there's the historical museum. They have the St. Basilica Cathedral, which was built in
St. Basil's.
It was built in 1591. They have the Kremlin right there, and they have the Mausoleum of Lenin there, and they also have what is called the GUM.
The GUM department store. Yeah.
Which is a huge mall, which is super awesome. And what is really awesome, also what would be great to visit in Moscow itself, is the Cathedral of Christ, which was built in commemoration of the defeat of Napoleon, and it was built in 1883. And Stalin actually tore it down in 1930. And Boris Boris Yeltsin, and it was actually torn down to build a swimming pool, which is really, really absurd, actually.
I love the Soviets,
Stalin
right?
wanted to build a swimming pool. So anyway, it was torn down, and in 1995, Boris Yeltsin had this cathedral rebuilt exactly in the original plan.
It's pretty cool.
How it was before, and it's a very beautiful building. So that is another
sounds interesting,
really
especially when you
nice-
get to Lenin, and of course
nice,
Lenin was the proponent, taking Marx and Engels' great
So,
works and translating them into action, Missy Jen.
Right.
Communism, and a great proponent of equal misery for all.
So there is just so much to see there on that Red Square, the Museum for History, the Historical Museum. You can go in there and see a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of great history.
There's a lot of great history there. So
a lot of history, well before Napoleon and Charles II of Sweden,
Lenin,
multiple
Stalin,
invasions.
everybody's been there.
Russia.
Multiple invasions went through there. They also have a marker there. It's a metal marker that has a 0 mile marker, and when you stand on it, from there it starts off 0, and from there every street in the what you then called Soviet Union starts out from there and spreads out, and it's a 0 mile marker. Super awesome. So you can actually even Google that in if you're interested.
That's pretty cool. You know, so lots to see.
So
in,
there's a lot to see.
lots to see in
there.
Moscow,
So-
and of course, you know, Jack Reed, the famous American journalist, went there and witnessed the revolution in in his travels back and forth from Russia, and working for the New York Times, wrote 10
And
days
then
that shook the world.
And then imagine you stand there on the Red Square, and then Putin looks through the Kremlin window and waves at
How
you.
you doing,
and
Missy
maybe,
Jen?
like salutes you. Hey,
Hey.
I seen your videos.
Is that Dumpy Rosie you got with you?
On YouTube. Hey, I like your videos there. So yeah, so
Pretty cool. Yeah, you really did your homework on that. That's pretty awesome. For me, if I'm going to Russia, I also want to add the St. Petersburg, just to get the flavor of the revolution and all that. Very good, Missy Jen. For me, it's very unusual. For me, as many of you know, I spent a significant amount of time in China, 5 years to be exact, and I never really got as west in China as Chengdu was, about as westernmost as I got in Tibet. And I always had an urge to travel what they call the Silk Road. And the Silk Road was that fabled route between Rome and Xi'an in western China that, well, it was such an exchange place for cultures and things all through history, religion, Buddhism, and all the silk and things that traveled that tremendous thousands and thousands of miles, in the Han dynasty and Genghis Khan and the warriors. And it's a very fabled land, Missy Jen. And, you know, you live in the United States where we measure history in 300 or so years, 400 years, 500 stretching it. But there you're talking about thousands of years of history, and how much has remarkably survived from even thousands of miles. And to be able to traverse that and see that, of course, the Chinese part's the easy part, and it is the bulk of it. But going through countries like Turkmenistan, that you need to have a letter of invitation, and you need to have a visa, and a lot of these are Muslim countries, and if you get caught out there, you can be in a super bad way.
and if you go to Russia and you're a transgender,
well, you know, or get to, you know, Istanbul's okay, but you really kind of take your life in your hand. But it does not mean, as Jack said, you transcend geopolitical things, and you talk
That's
about what you could do if you could, in theory. And I think it would be pretty darn wild to re-travel the Silk Road all over Pakistan and the Pamirs and Kashmir and up and down and Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan and all through there, I think it would be pretty darn wild. Be prepared to eat a lot of goat, eat a lot of all kinds of stuff in there. Anyway, guys, our fantasy travel, if we could, we would, but we can't.
What is this?
I always learn.
How many camels? There was 8. There are now only 7 left.
I've eaten camel before, and I'm going to tell you guys what. After the first month of being in China, I didn't even give a flying you know what anymore. I ate every single thing that they ever put in front of me. 5 years, no refrigeration, just after Tiananmen and all that, and I never had a sick day ever in 5 years. So there you go. Bring it on, baby.
All right, so there you have it.
There you have it. Fantasy travel, something very fun and interesting this morning. We all hope you have a wonderful Thursday today. Thanks for spending some time with us. Thanks for checking out the video. We finally completed, Missy Jen, one of the really last little, what I call pain in the ass projects. And now Jen's all fired up because I talked about hiring an architect to do some prospective plans for maybe enlarging the rancho. Stay tuned.
How about if you all just leave your comment in the comment section where you would love to travel in your fantasy. And
don't worry about my fantasy.
And we will just
put your
it good.
Yeah, put your comment. What would be your fantasy place to
where would
travel?
you go in your fantasy travel?
All right, everybody. Back to
it could even be the moon or the Mars. It doesn't even have to be planet Earth. It could be even like Falcon X.
Yeah,
space travel if you wanted to.
Well, meanwhile, back on planet Earth, have a wonderful Thursday, everybody.
And a thumbs up.
Or